Hi everybody, this is Just Be Well, the channel about whole life wellness. I'm Tom Salt, a medical doctor and functional medicine practitioner.
I'm Elizabeth, a registered nurse and whole life coach.
Yeah, so we've been out here at Sibley State Park in Minnesota, walking around, lost track of time. So we're a little late getting on. And this week we're going to talk about chronic pain and how to make chronic pain not chronic anymore. So chronic pain is a really big problem. You know, something like a quarter of people are walking around with chronic pain. And chronic pain, you know, is a multifactorial problem. Hi, Yolanda.
Hi, Yolanda.
Chronic pain is a multifactorial problem, and it really is whole life, right? Not only does it impact your whole life, but its cause and resolution is about your whole life. So, I don't know, it's like I said, something like a quarter of people are walking around with debilitating chronic pain. And, you know, really, the word, you looked up a bunch of synonyms for chronic today. What did they mean?
Basically, they meant incurable, lifelong,
All kinds of terrible things.
constant. And that's when I decided, I was like, we've got to come up with a different name for chronic pain, because when you put chronic in front of pain, I kind of lose hope a little bit. Like, okay, then this is the way it is forever.
Right.
And when it comes to chronic pain, yes, there are some of us that are going to have to deal with some amount of pain for the rest of our lives. But how can we control that pain, or how can we make that pain a little bit more bearable in our day-to-day lives? And that's kind of what we're going to concentrate on, is those things that you can do at home to help you manage your pain and take the chronic out of it. Maybe it's just, hopefully it's not too windy here, maybe it's just intermittent pain or inconsistent pain, but something to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, so, you know, let's start with the worst side of the spectrum here. So Elizabeth just saying that, you know, maybe we'll have to manage some level of pain in our whole life, and suddenly there's a gale here. Every time we go out and find a perfect place, then something exciting happens. But anyway.
It's life.
It is. And hello, Bridget.
Hi, Bridget.
So there is a guy by the name of John Kabat-Zinn. He's written a book entitled Full Catastrophe Living. And it is about his pain management program. He runs a pain management program out of, I think it's Beth Israel, but it's one of the Harvard affiliate hospitals. And when you crunch the numbers, his pain management techniques actually get better responses than the places that do, you know, burn your nerves and inject your nerves and do surgery and all that kind of stuff and use steroids and whatever else. And his program is based in meditation. So that's just meditation. That's one aspect, right? But imagine a whole life program where we talked about an anti-inflammatory diet and an anti-inflammatory lifestyle and getting enough sleep, and then targeted nutritional interventions based on, you know, all of functional medicine. And that's really what we're going to talk about this week in managing chronic pain. Unfortunately, you know, this is going to sound incredibly stupid, but pain hurts. Pain hurts. And people don't want to be in pain. And so they reach for the pills. They want to get the surgery. They want to get the injection. They want to get the nerve burned. They want to get whatever it is, right? But there's a different approach.
Because sometimes those things can cause a whole nother host of issues.
They can. Yeah. You know, and I'm not against those things. I do injections. I do all that stuff. But that's just one tiny sliver of this whole life approach to managing pain. So, you know, it almost begins to sound redundant because we talk about these same kind of topics no matter what the illness, but the devil is in the details, right? So it's a little different diet for this versus that. And we're talking about an anti-inflammatory diet and an anti-inflammatory set of supplements, along with looking at all the other domains of the matrix to figure out how things have gone wacky and how we can work on fixing it. So, thinking about, the diet we usually start with, which is called a Renew diet, is sort of a modified paleo diet. By the way, you guys that are listening, is the wind just horrific, or can you hear us? And so tell us a little bit about the paleo diet again.
The paleo diet?
Yeah. I'm sorry, a Renew diet.
Well, yeah, paleo is just a little bit less more regimen than the...
Less more?
Thank you for pointing that out.
Not bad. Thank you, Bridget.
Okay, thanks for... Hi, Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So the Renew diet is a diet that contains whole foods. It contains no grains, no dairy, no soy, a lot of those things that can trigger inflammation. And then it also removes any processed foods, processed sugars, a lot of things white, just because those do increase inflammation.
Right.
And so it's a program that we suggest that an individual is on for 4 to 6 weeks, and it's just a nice reset. Hi, Kelsey.
Yeah, it's a nice reset. It removes the common, the foods that people are commonly responsive to, whether it's an allergy or an intolerance or whatever. So it removes those. It removes foods that people are commonly kind of addicted to, like sugars and things like that. And it removes foods that are inflammatory. So it's a very good kind of foundational starting point.
Yep, and it amps up detoxification.
It absolutely amps up detoxification.
So it helps you get rid of those things that are also causing you inflammation.
Right. And get rid of those internal... Brinley and Bryson say hi.
Too. Hi, guys.
So it helps get rid of, or helps you detoxify the hormones and neurotransmitters that are responsible for inflammation as well. So those, we call them nociceptors, or those are the receptors, but nosotactic chemicals that your body makes surrounding pain and making things hurt. But if you think about pain, you slam your thumb with a hammer, kabang. It gets big and swollen and painful and throbs and hurts, and you think it's going to fall off, and you're pretty sure you're never going to feel good again. And then, a couple days, good as new, back to where you need to be. And the question we have to ask is, what the heck is going on with chronic pain that interrupts that cycle of resolution?
Of healing, because really aren't these areas just...
Hi. I knew it.
Hi, Teresa.
Teresa, yeah. So what's happening? What's interfering? And that's part of what functional medicine does by looking at all these various domains of the matrix and the modifiable lifestyle factors, is what is preventing resolution. A very common problem is getting injured on the job. There was a study done at Boeing many years ago. This is in the 80s or maybe early 90s. And they looked at all their people that had been injured on the job, and they looked at really a broad scope of risk factors. And it was all said and done. The people who did not resolve their pain after their work-related injury were people that felt very poor job satisfaction. And the people with the highest resolution actually had the highest job satisfaction. Now, I'm not trying to say that injuries are just in your head. That's far from the truth, right? Injuries are real and they hurt. But your mental state has a tremendous amount to do with how you heal.
Fulfillment.
Right. And so if you're not feeling fulfilled in your job, if you're feeling unappreciated in your job, if you're feeling burdened in your job, it weighs on you. And, if you're relaxed and having fun and the job is great, you're relaxed. And if everything's a nightmare and you're just waiting for your manager to come walking around the corner and all that kind of stuff, you're uptight like this, right? That doesn't help you heal. So we're going to talk about all of these various domains this week, and we want to answer your questions too. So, and hello, Allison, and hello, Colleen.
Hi.
And if you have questions, please ask, because we'd love to fumble around with those and make fools of ourselves. So anyway, domains of our lives that contribute to pain, and not just being hit by hammers on the thumb, but let's just go across the bottom of the matrix to the modifiable lifestyle factors, and let's just talk about sleep. Tell me about,
So when we sleep, it's when our body restores. And, if we're not getting adequate amounts of sleep, we're not doing that full restoration for those 8 or 9 hours. Maybe it's just the fact that you only get 5 hours of sleep a night. Well, you are cutting out 3 to 4 hours. And especially if it's, we have our best sleep before, they say, like midnight. So if you think, okay, but I'm going to bed at 2 a.m. and I'm sleeping till 10, it's actually better for you to go to bed earlier than going to bed later. So really just overall look at your sleeping schedule, and if you're getting those adequate hours to help your body restore, detoxify. Are you eating right before you go to bed? Because then your body's going to be digesting food while you sleep instead of doing the rebalancing, restoring, and detoxifying.
I don't see white on my face, so that must have been a raindrop, because it wasn't a bird. Yeah. Think about your sleep. Think about, what time do you go to bed? Do you wake up at night? How long are you awake at night? What time do you wake up in the morning? What time do you get out of the bed in the morning? What time of the day do you feel your best? And start to look at those factors carefully, and you'll start to realize the quality of your sleep. And then ask, I like to say that a good night's sleep starts shortly after you wake up in the morning. It's managing your autonomic balance. And we've talked a lot about that. There's lots of videos on our YouTube channel about that. But basically, it's having some kind of stress management program. You need to have an exercise program. You need to have a flexibility program. You need to have a diet and lifestyle program. You need to have a stress management program.
Because if you're going all day long redlining, how do you expect to settle down at night? Even if you try to right before you go to bed, your body is still going to be in that fight or flight mode as you're sleeping. So you're not going to get into your nice deep cycles of sleep where all of this good stuff of restoring and rebalancing happens.
Yep. So that's a thought about sleep. And then exercise. Oh, did you have something else to say about sleep?
No, sleep, and a little bit into stress management as well.
And a little
how
bit,
they are created.
Yeah. I thought we talked more about stress management when we get to stress.
We can always talk more about stress management, I think.
Yeah. So then the next of the modifiable lifestyle factors is really movement and exercise. Some people think exercise is a 4-letter word. It's actually, how many letters is it? I don't even know. I can't spell my own name. But anyway.
8.
She had to use her fingers, by the way. So it's an 8-letter word, which is twice as bad as a 4-letter word, I guess. But if you think about stress, or if you think about movement and exercise, that's how you move your blood around. That's how you pump waste products out of your body. So some kind of movement. You're hurting, so you're not going to be running marathons. You're not going to be lifting weights, but think about what you can do. You can get in a pool. You can do weightless movement in a pool. You can lay down on the floor. You can do gentle stretching. Some people find, So some kind of movement really important. And then nutrition we've talked about. We talked about the renewed diet and that kind of thing. And then moving next is really that stress management thing. So what are some stress management techniques that you like?
I like, just like what we're doing right now today. I love being...
Forest bathing,
yes. And I love being outdoors and with the trees and all the green grass and everything is green. And, there are a lot of studies that show how beneficial just being in nature is to reducing your stress.
Yeah.
So for one, just get outdoors. Do something outdoors in nature. and perhaps you don't have that ability. You can do stress management right where you're sitting by just really concentrating on your breathing, taking a few moments to take in some deep breaths and hold them and then exhale.
And, you can create an intentional space, even if you can't get out. Many of my patients who have had chronic Lyme for a million years, they just can't get out, or they have severe rheumatoid or severe, some kind of autoimmunity, and they just can't. Create an intentional space. Put up some lovely pictures that you enjoy. Get a diffuser and create an aromatic environment. Use some essential oils. There are even forest bathing essential oils that are named after specific national parks. I just learned the other day.
And they work wonderfully.
Yeah, you can. You can get Arcadia National Park or Sequoia National Park or whatever. I think that's completely cool. But anyway, something like that. So I really like our morning ritual. And if you're a member of the family room, the Just Be Well family room, that's downloadable for you. It's also on a bunch of our YouTube stuff. But our morning ritual. You want to go through the morning ritual with me?
We can go through it quickly, I think.
Yeah, okay. So the first thing you do is just set an intention of, pleasant thoughts. You don't want to be ready to knock somebody's head off when you're starting this. It might change the outcome. And, what is my essence? And we're asking the question, what is my essence right now? What is my essence in general? And answer both of those questions. And what is it today? What is my essence? So what is my essence? What is your essence today?
The first word that comes to me is love. Maybe it's because I'm surrounded in green, but...
Yeah.
Just
So what is my essence? And then just journal on that. And if you've got a little bit of time, journal for a minute. If you've got a little more time, journal for 5 minutes. Journal for an hour if you've got a whole bunch of time. But journal on that. And then...
what is my offering?
What is my offering? Yeah, and I think that's a little bit different. It's sort of the other side of gratitude, right? What is my offering? This proves I don't have a toupee. See?
This is all real.
What is my offering? So what do I have to offer the world? And some days it's just witness. All I have to offer today is witness, and that's beautiful. Witness is a beautiful and important thing. Sometimes all I have to offer is is it a cup that says, yes, I'm still in my pajamas. What did I do today?
The kids are alive.
The kids are alive.
Say thank you and tell me I'm pretty.
That's right. So, sometimes just being alive is what you've got, and that's okay. But think about it. And then, but also, as you start to immerse yourself in sort of this place of gratitude, more things come up. So that really sets the stage for just sort of some writing and just some free association, some, that kind of thing. Just let it fly. Let your subconscious come to the surface. And my battery is now at low, so we will hopefully get through this. How will I manifest joy? How will I manifest joy? So how will I manifest joy today? By manifesting joy, what will I do? Joy is surrounding us, but how will I bring it into my life? And Teresa, we'll get to your question in just a second. How will I manifest this, or how will I, manifest joy, and write about that. So write about that for another minute or 5 minutes or an hour, or however long you've decided to go for this exercise. And then lastly,
how will I manifest love?
Yeah, so it was how will I apprehend joy? Yeah, how will I apprehend joy? So we don't even know our own
joy.
We don't even know our own morning routine, but and then how will you apprehend love? So same idea though, right? Love is all around us. How are we going to manifest it in our life? And I think that's really important.
By giving it.
Yeah. And so then 3 things you're grateful for. Write about 3 things that you hold in deep gratitude.
And I like to actually do this before I go to bed.
Yep. Yeah, we call it the morning ritual, but we do it at any
the gratitude
time of the day.
part, I break out some of it and like to do it before I go to sleep at night. End it on a good note.
So Teresa says, last fall I had an MRI and have had excruciating pain in my legs and found that I have an annular tear, bummer, bulging disc, and arthritis in L4-5. While I was in pain, I pushed myself and did too much and found that I could do very little, or I would do very little. What I found was that I needed to slow down, do not be sedentary, and little by little my pain has decreased and I'm doing much more. Keep moving, eating well, and try to stay positive. And that, capital TRY, to stay positive. So some days that's not very easy. You know, Teresa, that's exactly right. So many people with chronic pain, we live in a society where your output is equal to your worth as a human being. So, you know, if you're in pain and you're not doing much, well, you're just a worthless sack of dung. And that just isn't true. Slow down. I like to say, treat yourself the way you would treat your very best friend in your most compassionate voice. Imagine if you did that. Imagine if you treated yourself as well as you would treat your best friend in your most compassionate voice. And that's really what you want to do. And you wouldn't allow your friend to be completely sedentary, but you would allow your friend to back way off. I like to call it the 50% rule. When you're sick, whether it's pain or chronic Lyme or fibromyalgia or whatever, doesn't matter. Look around, figure out what you like to do today, and commit to no more than half of it. You know, because we always bite off more than we can chew, especially when we don't feel well. Because we think we can do what we can do when we're well, and it just isn't true. So yeah, take some mercy on yourself when you're not feeling well.
And listen to your body. I mean, you know, when we're tired, we should rest. When we're hungry, we eat.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a headache, you tend to that. So if you're having pain, it's there for a reason. And, you
pain
know,
is
it's
information.
speaking to you. And if you're having quite a bit of pain, you know, it's really important to listen to that and not just push through it, because as you have said, it can cause you more injury in the long run. Pain is really a thing to be listened to.
Yep, it is information, and we need to find out what the message is. So then the last of the 5 modifiable lifestyle factors is relationships. What else are people saying here?
Bridget, my offering, new approach for me. I like it.
Good.
They're wonderful. There are wonderful gratitude journals as well. Yes.
Yep, absolutely. And gratitude places you in a whole different mindset. You know, I was in just a mood. Well, it's been a little while, but I get in a mood from time to time. She might attest to that. And I was just ripping and snorting, as my mother would have said. Meaning like a bull, you know. And I started doing the morning ritual, and I got to, gratitude. Well, I don't give a shit about it. Well, then, you know what? At least I don't live in a place where if I walk out my front door, somebody's going to shoot at me. Like if I lived in, one of these war-torn countries. Gosh, that's not so bad. Okay, I'm grateful for that. And then, well, gosh, now I think about it, the air conditioning's on, and it's really hot. I'm kind of glad for that. And you know what? My roof doesn't leak. Suddenly I had a lot to be grateful for. And it really changed my perspective. And so gratitude. Yeah, Yolanda, listening to your body is super important. Absolutely. What else does she say there?
Finding her personal balance has been huge for my own management of my autoimmune disease. Balance is a key word.
So I want to talk just for a minute. I think we're getting kind of late here. I want to talk just for a minute about relationships as the last of the 5 modifiable lifestyle factors. And the issue is this. Sometimes relationships can be contentious, right? But again, like we said, pain is information. Emotions are information. And if you're getting angry, it's because you care. Anger, at its base, is caring. And so there might be a better way to manage caring than anger. If you really explore it and think about your emotional, caring if you care about something deeply, it's going to rile you up because it's not going right, so you're going to get angry. So if somebody's, quote, making you angry, which is a whole nother discussion, nobody ever made you angry, no one ever shamed you, you chose that. Now, what the heck did he just say? No, I was serious. You chose it. It's an instantaneous choice, but with training, you can choose a different choice.
Right.
Choose a different
Or
choice.
sometimes anger is useful.
Oh, it's absolutely
You know,
useful. There are times to be angry.
But the key is to pause. The key is to pause between that, stimulus and then your reaction to it.
Right, and understand where the anger is coming from. The anger is coming from caring. So is anger the best response, or is there a different response which would serve you better? Your emotions and your responses to your emotions, we should really try to have serve our highest good. So that I think is a really important thing to think about. Same thing with every emotion has this more peaceful fundamental piece. And exploring those emotions and allowing yourself to have the emotions. You deserve to have your emotions. It's okay to have your emotions. But explore them and look for the information in them, because emotions are information. What is that emotion trying to tell you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. When we suppress our emotions, it can cause a whole host of issues as well. So it really is so important to listen to them. No, we shouldn't react every time we have an emotion. We should not let them run the show, but they do deserve a voice, and they are something that we need to listen to. Sometimes it involves us having a difficult conversation, being vulnerable with another person. Maybe it's challenging one of our beliefs. Maybe it's challenging a core belief that is no longer serving us. Or maybe it's a boundary being placed. But, they're really important to listen to and not just be like, okay, Elizabeth, you don't have a right to feel that way.
Yeah, I like to say that emotions are meant to be emoted and feelings are meant to be felt.
Not denied.
Not denied.
When you deny your emotions, you're
Let's see
denying
what we missed
yourself
here.
and not listening to yourself. We all need to be there for ourselves.
Mostly just people remind you, it's important to be grateful. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. All of you are right.
Gratitude changes everything.
But we all need reminders. I certainly need reminders every day. You forget how much we were. This is going to sound terrible, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, but the poorest person in America actually probably has it better than a lot of people in the world, and that's really something to think about. That's an awful thing to have to think about, really. So anyway, I think that's it for today. That's the 5 modifiable lifestyle factors and their relationship to pain. And we will continue our discussion about pain on Wednesday. So we will see you on Wednesday. Yeah.
Unless you have any other questions before we go. You can add to it afterwards as well, because we can get to them on Wednesday.
Yep. And we also often answer questions in between. So we will see you Wednesday. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.